morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at the new way to play Gardevoir and Sylveon. You see, Cosmic Eclipse is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. It's going to be legal for tournament play in less than a month. And Gardevoir and Sylveon is already one of the best decks we have in the Pokemon trading card game. But with a new set, it's going to come changes to how we do things. So it's time to take a look at what we're going to do with this particular deck and how it's going to change when Cosmic Eclipse comes out. Now, starting off with a quick reminder, Gardevoir and Sylveon, very, very nice tag team GX. 260 HP is on the low side. But 1 colourless energy, search your deck for 2 fairy energy, attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. 3 energy, 150, move all your energy around the field as you like. 3 energy, 200 damage, but 6 energy, 200 damage, and your opponent shuffles their entire hand into their deck. So the theory here very simply is use the first attack to get enough energy on the field. Primarily use the second attack here, and then try and use the third attack to get rid of your opponent's hand when they don't have enough on the board to get a KO. They then won't get a KO because, well, they won't have enough on the board, they've got nothing in their hand, at which point you can then attack with the second attack, moving the energy back around to make sure that you're not running out of energy, because if you get all 6 energy on the field on one Pokemon, then that Pokemon gets KO'd. That's how things go wrong. But a second attack makes sure that doesn't happen. And we've been using this deck for a little while, and we've been playing it with Fairy Charms. And that's not the only way to play it, but it's one way that we've been playing it, using things like Fairy Charm Lightning to give yourself immunity from things like Pikachu and Zekrom, etc. And then you're rolling. The thing is, the Fairy Charms aren't perfect. Take something like Reshiram and Charizard, for instance. Now, that is one of the best decks in the format, but one of the other best decks in the format, Mewtwo and Mew, tends to play it so they can copy it. But they're also using Welder, so essentially they can just ignore Mewtwo and Mew and play it like a Reshiram and Charizard deck. And the point here is that there are 2 of the best 4 or 5 decks in the format that can run straight through Fairy Charms. So the list I'm showing you today does not play Fairy Charms. What it does do is play some of the new cards from Cosmic Eclipse to give you a very different but very awesome kind of deck. But just to be clear, there is nothing to stop you playing Fairy Charms. If you're finding that your matchup against Mewtwo and Mew isn't great, maybe play a couple of Fairy Charm ability. It might not auto-win, but it will certainly stop them attacking with Mewtwo and Mew, and that might be enough to get the win. And yes, I know Japan has a very slightly different format than we do. This deck will work absolutely fine. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. I'll point out the changes when we get there. So there are actually other Pokemon here, which is not always the case. There are plenty of decks out there that are just playing for Gardevoir and Sylveon. But one of the things we're playing here is multiple copies of Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. This is one of the really big new changes to the deck that we're seeing with Cosmic Eclipse coming in. What we have here is the main attack, 3 colourless energy, 60 damage, plus 60 more for each Pokemon EX and GX that your opponent has in play. Against something like Pikachu and Zekrom, if they've got 4 GXs, boom, 1-hit KO. Against any other tag team deck, if they've got 5 GXs, boom, KO. So maybe this sets you up for a nice easy 1-hit KO. Maybe this makes your opponent go, ha ha ha, I'm not going to bench my last Pokemon that I want to bench to try and stop you. But as I've said in a million different videos over the years, if your opponent is not doing something that they want to do, purely to try and hurt you, that's a win, ladies and gentlemen. That is an absolute win. And then there's a single copy of Mimikyu GX. Now, a bunch of people at the moment are currently playing Xerneas GX, and Mimikyu is currently out and currently legal, so if you really want to play Xerneas over Mimikyu, I really can't be terribly upset about that, because that's what we're doing at the moment. Why do we play Mimikyu GX? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First attack that just confuses them, no. But 1 fairy, 1 colourless, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active. Really good for getting a 2-hit KO. Gardevoir and Sylveon will generally hit 150. This can come in and finish off anything you like, even if you hit for a little bit less, to be honest. But we've also got a nice GX attack here that takes one of your opponent's bench Pokemon and shuffles it and all cards attached to it into their deck. This is really, really nice against Mewtwo and Mew or Reshiram and Charizard. If they go first and play a Fire Energy and a Welder, such that they've got free energy on the field, you can go second and then use Dream Fear GX to just put them right back to where they came from. That's kind of fun. Now, energy is the one place where we are missing a little bit from what Japan has. You see, this list is still playing double colourless energy. I don't think double colourless energy is necessary. They only play a couple. However, there is one play that they can do with double colourless energy, because this deck also plays Mina. And the play is Mina, double colourless energy, and then you can attack with Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff right away. I don't think you need the double colourless energy here. I don't think it's absolutely vital. You've still got Mina to accelerate energy. You're still accelerating energy from the first attack with Gardevoir and Sylveon, and you're still moving energy around with the second attack, so I don't think you need the double colourless here, but do please bear in mind this is the one thing that we are missing. Now, as we go into trainers, there are a few from Cosmic Eclipse that really make this deck way, way better. One of them is Tag Call. Tag Call lets you search your deck for any 2 tag team cards and put them into your hand, and that is Pokemon or supporters. Well, except for Mimikyu, all of your Pokemon are tag teams. And the other big changes we've got here are that we are playing a bunch of tag team supporters. 3 different ones. The majority of lists we're seeing in Japan at the moment are playing multiple tag team supporters. Gone are the days, well, to be honest, we never really had the days where you would only pick one. They are multiple. So the one we see the most of here, we see 3 copies of Cynthia and Caitlyn, which I like because we've got an English scan of that one. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand, other than Cynthia and Caitlyn, or one that you discarded using it, and then you may discard a card from your hand and draw 3 cards. Great for recovering supporters while drawing. Really, really helps you out in terms of getting rolling here. Now, we do also see 2 copies of Mallow and Lana, for which we unfortunately do not have an English scan, boo, hiss, etc. And what we see with Mallow and Lana here is that you switch to the bench, and then you may discard 2 cards from your hand, and then heal 120 from the Pokemon you switch to the bench. Gardevoir and Sylveon doesn't take massive one-hit KOs, so what you tend to do here is have to try and be a little bit more 2-hit KO and survive, so this works out very, very nicely. And then we also see Guzma and Hala, which at its base lets you search for a stadium card, which is quite nice. Searching out stadiums is fine. But then if you go ahead and discard 2 cards from your hand, you also get to search your deck for a Pokemon tool and a special energy. Obviously, with double colourless energy, this does become a little bit better. But it still lets you search out stadiums and tools, so let's not go crazy here. The only other slightly odd thing we see in this list is Counter Gain. Counter Gain is a very cool card. If you're behind on prizes, you get to reduce the energy cost of your Pokemon's attacks by 1 colourless energy. So now if you are behind on energy, Energy Gain, Mina, and energy from your hand will actually allow you to pay Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff's cost in 1 turn fairly easily, which is very, very cool indeed. Now, the other new card we see here is Island Challenge Amulet. Removes 100 maximum HP, but it does mean you give up 1 less prize when KO'd by damage from an opponent's attack. So, quite nice, especially for something like Mimikyu, or indeed a Tag Team GX, because if your opponent KOs a Tag Team GX and then a Tag Team with Island Challenge Amulet, that's only 5 prizes. They've got to KO another tag team in order to win the game. You'll see Island Challenge Amulet as a one-off in a lot of decks, because it means your opponent has to KO an extra tag team to win. That's pretty huge. Outside of that, it's largely what we would expect. Green's exploration is phenomenal. Search for any 2 trainers. You're not using abilities, so it's fine. Tag switch to move energy around from your tag teams without having to rely on the attack here. And then we've got a Lieutenant Surge, just for if you want to play more than one supporter, which you might want to. We're playing 2 reset stamp rather than 1 because you often fall behind in this. And of course, the other new card we're playing is Great Catcher. Discard 2 cards from your hand, and then it's an automatic gusting on a GX. Yes, the list here plays Ace Roller and Max Potion, but you could easily just play stuff like Super Scoop Up. It's not perfect, but it's what we've been doing. We've been playing this list without Max Potion and Ace Roller. We can continue to play this deck without Max Potion and Ace Roller, and will be absolutely fine. Yes, there's 1 copy of Nest Ball here, but honestly, you could literally switch it for a Cherish Ball, and it would make absolutely 0 difference. All these Pokemon can be searched with Nest Ball. All these Pokemon can be searched with Cherish Ball. It really doesn't matter at all. This has been one of the best decks up to now, and I wanted to show you a new way to play it. Out of Fairy Charms, in our Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff, with Tag Team Supporters and Tag Call. Is it better than the Fairy Charm list? I mean, it's winning over in Japan. That doesn't necessarily make it better, but I do think it's another cool way to play, and it's one that you should be testing. Yes, I know that there's a couple of cards that aren't in our format, but as I've explained, this should work very, very nicely outside of Japan as well. But at this stage, I'd like to know what you think about this, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.